We're taking it to the edge this week. Lucas Oil on the Edge is bringing you some off-road rock racing to the extreme with the XORRA from Jellicoe, Tennessee. There's also a bonus ATV race from Sikeston, Missouri on the books for today. It's all coming up right now.
Got it tacked up, and if you get too close, you're getting cracked up. Stone cold when I roll, coming out of the hole. Get back, cause I'm out of control.
Hold on tight as we bring you another exciting round of Lucas Oil on the Edge. And all the action to you comes this week from Tennessee. We're in Jellicoe for the General Tire Xtreme off-road rock race. And this isn't your typical rock crawling event where they're slow and precise. No, these guys stand on the throttle. It's 4 laps and the quickest one wins.
Side by side, almost like drag racing, kid. They'll leave the starting line, make an immediate left, and right straight up the face of that mountain. Now in this situation, not first to the finish line, these races are decided by cumulative times overall. It's gonna be fun, I guarantee it.
Stout and Olson ready to bring you all the action, and our first pair is sitting at the starting line. Let's get them going.
In the past here at Jellicoe, there was a center banner essentially creating 2 lanes at the course. Well, as you can see, there's no center banner anymore, meaning these guys are going to get aggressive going up over the rock. And the first guy to the top, well, he's most likely going to be the guy that wins the race today.
All right, let's get things started here. It really is a wild form of rock crawling, to say the least. We take you for a ride, courtesy of General Tire.
As we mentioned earlier, they go up in pairs. However, it's not drag strip style racing. It's timed event where they leave the starting line as a pair and they'll meet up right there at the V where we saw David just moments ago.
It is amazing what these vehicles will go up and over.
That is a great shot there, man. Can you imagine that thing at about what? Straight up 90-degree angle almost, man. Oh, look at it going downhill.
Yeah, and they just stand on the throttle over those huge boulders and rocks. Of course, you can see the suspension landing nicely there, carrying good speed. Shannon Campbell trying to keep up with Barton.
And Shannon, one of the big dogs in the category, tries to play catch up here. Again, it is a timed event, and will make 4 opportunities at it and add them all together. Barton comes out the better of the 2, 1 minute 57.09 seconds overall. It's a 2-minute run alongside there for the opponent, Shannon Campbell.
Richie Keller and Jason O'Leaf. And boy, I'll tell you, you can hear some of these power plants just absolutely scream as they're making upwards of 500-600 horsepower. A little different approach here. You can see not near the horsepower in these particular vehicles.
Yeah, you seem a little bit soft there, certainly early on, but it all depends how aggressive you are to the approach. As you look at that 157 time to beat and the Napa-sponsored machine, which has trouble right off the bat there.
And it was almost like he didn't have enough steam to get up over the tough part of that course.
No nitrous oxide permitted, no methanol. These are gasoline-powered engines. Kind of a run what you brung. You can run fuel injection, but it's got to come from a throttle body or through an intake port.
And there you go, first one across the stripe, and you can see a big difference in time here for Richie Keller, 2:27.72, but well short of the mark he needs to take over the lead. Levi Shirley and Tony Wrightmore.
Now there's some steam right there. And for that driver that can make it up that hill first, oh, they both choose to take the same course.
Boy, difficult. Boy, look at that thing just carrying the inside front tire. That one definitely made for rock racing.
Specifically for that, oh man. I was getting ready to say specifically, it was even had the cage on one side so as to have the gravity right was turned to course.
Check it out. Talk about side bite.
Man, oh man.
You know, the tough part of that is when you're running an engine like that, there's a really good chance that it does not have any oil getting to the oil pump, so you could really hurt something badly there. But these guys do get at some extreme angles from time to time, so they are kind of set up for it as best they possibly can.
Brian Shirley comes up next. He and Levi Shirley, a father and son team combination to run this category.
Again, a little lower horsepower vehicles here as they go up a very tough section of the course.
The toughest when it comes to almost going vertical there. It's some pretty stiff rocks. Oh, then you get up to the top of that thing, you're going to say, who's going to go first?
Brian Shirley actually took the position away.
Great onboard shot. You can almost feel it from where you're sitting, man.
Tree right there. I mean, the course very narrow. Any one of those rocks can kick you off the wrong direction. Your day could be over, but a better elapsed time there for Brian Shirley. Good job. More to go when we come back.
This episode of Lucas Oil on the Edge is being brought to you by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, anywhere is possible. Herculiner truck bed liners, when the tough comes easy.
OTE will keep you on the edge of your seat with exciting racing. Let's get right back to it.
Your General Tire scoreboard shows you Chris Barton on top of them all at 157. Shannon Campbell is in second, then DeRemo and Shirley third and fourth.
And you can see some pretty big gaps in those times, so there's some room there. Shannon Campbell and Chris Barton going at it. Right off the bat in big trouble, up and over. Barton in trouble. Let's have another look at it.
Man, he leads the starting line. It looks good. Wants that right lane of the racetrack to go up the hill, and boom, baby, over that thing goes. Let's go right in car. Watch the driver, spins that wheel around. Look how tight he stays in that car. Safety stuff does its job.
All right, here's a couple of comparisons for the rock racing versus off-road. You take a look at the vehicles on the right-hand side. They can weigh upwards of 7,000 pounds. The rock racers, needless to say, much lighter. Of course, you also have to deal with the conditions, but it's wide open in the desert versus a very tight lane when you're racing over here in the rock quarry.
Levi Shirley, again, one of the heavy hitters with one of the little more underpowered machines. 1,800 is the minimum on weight for these machines here. Like Ken mentioned, much lighter than those in the off-road series. And again, the time to beat now is 1.56.
Well, and of course, these machines here are also designed to go over this very, very tough terrain that the desert racers typically won't have to go over. It's tough out there, but not like this where you go vertical up a wall.
2.07 overall here in round number 2 as Tim Cantrell and Jason Fielding coming up next.
And again, another look at these, and keep in mind they'll make 4 different attempts on this course, and every time they add that total up. So it's a cumulative amount of time at the end of the day. Whoever is the lowest gets the win.
So the idea here, of course, is if you can make consistent runs, don't have any of those non-finish runs. You have a non-finish run, you're pretty well done because automatically you're going to be given 6 seconds for that run. Cantrell, the better of the two here at 2:20. Jason at 2.30.
All right, next up, Rick DeRemo and Buddy Doherty. Both guys off to a great start, stand on the throttle, had to check up just a little bit as they fight for that lane that they want.
That's the key to the whole deal. Oh, big wheels up.
Oh, and it's going to cost him.
Oh, man.
And you still need to be very precise. I mean, the lane is not very wide, so if you find yourself on a very sharp edge or a part of that rock that could kick you up like that, it could cost you the run.
Once again, Campbell with that run and the time to beat actually made the run against Barton when Barton turned upside down just off the starting line.
So DeRemo with a much better effort here in that particular round than Buddy Doherty. Later on in the show, we've got plenty of racing action. Don't go away.
Well, we're midway through the action, and as expected, Shannon Campbell sits atop the leaderboard. Second place is Brian Shirley, but Clay Gilstrap's in third and Rick Dermo in fourth. They're both trying to make a push in the third and final heat before they head to the finals. And speaking of the third heat, Derek West is in the pits trying to fix his rig, hoping to make it back out and do well enough in the third heat to make the finals.
All right, thanks a lot. Kevin Cruz and Clay Gilstrap, the next pair.
Oh, man, again it happens.
There is a nasty rut on the inside of that turn, and if you get too aggressive with it too quickly, that's the result.
That is a tough way to go because at that point in time, you'll automatically not finish in the top 3 because that 6-minute slip you will be given for that particular run will put you out of the running. The key here is making 4 full runs on the course, Ken.
Next pair, Jason Bewley and Tim Cantrell.
Jason's had a couple runs here so far at 2:30 and quicker. And whoa!
Close as you can get and not go completely over there for Jason.
Oh man, both these guys have made 2 good runs in the first 2 rounds. And Jason's machine, that 3:33 car, has been better than 2.30 in the first couple of laps. Again, the key is make it happen, make a full pull. Jason this time by at 2:34, Cantrell 2.42 minutes overall.
One more time on board here with Brian Shirley.
Look at all the throw of that shock, kid. That thing's probably got 12, 13 inches of throw overall. Wow.
Well, yeah, carrying some big speed, just kind of floating the back end up and over that jump. And, you know, talking about the shocks, you can see those things land nicely without a big kickback. The rebound set nicely.
Now, if you were listening and watching this machine here, in my mind at least, it would be the one that would closely remind you of one that was built for off-road racing.
Well, there's definitely some different looks out here in the lower center of gravities while maintaining suspension is key. Brian Shirley with a time of 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Pretty decent there.
And again, Shannon Campbell with the time to beat, 1.56.93. 1 minute, 56 seconds, and 93 hundredths. And that was the time when Chicky Barton's machine went upside down in round number 2.
Danny Rohr in the 425, and in the 420 is Derek West. Time to beat, 1 minute 56.93 in any given round. Of course, they add them all up at the end of the day. Good, solid finish.
And that's a nice sounding run for sure.
I mean, real solid effort there out of Danny Rohr. And you got to finish here. I mean, you know, like you mentioned before, first of all, you have to finish the round because you never know what the next round is going to bring.
One time on your side or one time up on your roof is automatically going to be basically 6 minutes. So at the end of the day, that's like making 3 runs total. So having said that, 226, 211, Derek West.
We've got more great On the Edge racing coming your way. Don't go anywhere. You asked for more intense racing, and Lucas Oil On the Edge is bringing it to you right now.
If you take a look at the point standings this year, you'll notice one thing. Shannon Campbell's name's at the top because, well, he's won every race so far this season. That puts the pressure on him here today at Jellicoe. And Shannon, you've won every race. What is it going to take here today to win at Jellicoe?
Keep my junk together and use my head. Hopefully we can pull out a couple more wins.
What's different about this course as the other ones that you race on during the year?
This one's got a little bit more sharp rock, so you got a little bit more tendency to get a flat or something, and possible chances of rain today, so it might get muddy.
Mastercraft seat harnesses there. Robbie Pierce behind that company. Also runs a Pro 2 truck in short course off-road racing. He knows all about keeping these guys safe.
Shannon Campbell, the man on the far side of the screen there.
Both struggling at the beginning of this run.
And again, this is round number 4.
Just amazing to watch the suspension on that machine work. Well, and you could actually Shannon's vehicle that we were listening to while we were watching Chris's vehicle, and Chris, they call him Chicky, Chris Chicky Barton.
And I'll guarantee you one thing, Campbell made up some time. He lost a little bit going up the hill at the start of the event, but he made up for some lost ground and finishes up with 2.02. Man, that is one tough hill right there, kid.
Absolutely. Sawing at the wheel, trying to get those tires to get a bite. And you actually see them. Sometimes they get at such an angle, they'll bounce the top of these things off of a rock that's right beside them.
Whatever you got to do when you get down here in the mountain in Jellicoe, Tennessee, and you get past that vertical climb, you can open her up a little bit here, baby.
Again, taking their time. Last thing you want to do is get off course here. Get another penalty, not to mention it'll cost you more time in the next turn. And how about this, a rider on this particular one.
He had a big old smile on his face. You see that? That was pretty cool. Napa Auto Parts cap on top of it.
And a nice job there for Richie Keller, 2:23.34. Rick D'Eramo and Buddy Doherty up next. And there's a great example of a vehicle that has a high center of gravity and one with a much lower center of gravity.
And you got to obviously think that that one with the lower center of gravity would do good at certain points in the track. And I would think this would not be the part of the track that would be the better of the two. However, it has proven me wrong right here.
We're still struggling trying to get up and over, and that's where I think the high center of gravity can hurt them. But finally up and over that huge boulder.
And that is a tough way to go right there. A lot of time lost there. Rick makes a good run. 2:11.93, and Buddy, after struggles early on, to 3.12.97.
Randy Rod and Brian Shirley going at it, and we saw the puff of smoke out of Shirley's vehicle earlier in the day as well. And look how far offset that one is towards the driver for Brian Shirley. Backs up real quick. Great onboard shot here, courtesy of Lucas Oil.
If you take a look at that thing that looks like a seat belt, that's what these drivers call a travel limiter. And that means when that thing's outstretched at the most, you'd see that seat belt type strap extended tight.
You got a fallout strap there to keep the shock from coming apart. And Brian Shirley, a time of 2:19.97, has been faster, but again, it's about adding all the rounds up together. And Shirley is second, the very tough Shannon Campbell.
Shannon, you're still perfect on the season, but winning never gets old, does it, man?
No, I don't get old.
What's the main difference that you have against the competition?
I don't know if there's any difference. I'm just getting lucky as I go, I guess.
Listening to your machine go, it just sounds like you have so much more horsepower than everybody else. Is that true?
I don't think it's much more horsepower. It's just how you put it to the ground, and it does have a distinctive sound, so it sounds more powerful, but it's just getting it put to the ground.
Congrats to him. Hey, great racing action coming up.
This episode of Lucas Oil on the Edge is being brought to you by Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, anywhere is possible. Herculiner truck bed liners, when the tough comes easy.
We promised you a bonus ATV race, and we're about to deliver with the Production C class from Sikeston, Missouri. 17 riders in a 10-lap final make for some interesting racing. There's no time to be patient here. Bumping and banging is a must if you want to cross the finish line first.
Production C category here, starting order on the pole. You can see Ryan lined up there. A lot of pressure back behind him and off to the side, though, as they are lined up 3 deep.
And the one thing you want to do is hit that corner first, and that's a great starting spot as we battle here with Fisher and Loreno, Dakota that is, for that first spot.
And you can see rights, lefts, small jumps on this course as well. Some really tight turns. You got to back it in. You don't want to over-rotate. Pretty tricky little course, really.
You can also see, Ken, a lot of body English being used here as you look at our leaders and you look a little bit further back in the pack. And that body English, when you hang yourself off to the left, when you're going left or hanging to the right, when you're making a right-hand turn, will help you keep all 4 wheels and tires on the ground.
And I agree with you. I mean, we're talking about a vehicle that weighs a couple of 100 pounds, and if you can sling a 150-pound body from side to side on these, from turn to turn, you can really help the handling characteristics out on these machines.
Man-made track, and it's a track that's not specifically made for this event. It's a full-time racetrack here in Sikeston. And I got to tell you, again, the key here is getting a good starting spot. That's either done by qualifying and sometimes even by a blind draw.
Very talented riders here coming back out onto the main course through turns, what would be turns 1 and 2. Flat track action right there, and it looks easy, but if you hook a rut, man, it can get ugly in a second.
Still watch Loreno and Fisher battle for first. Jones is currently third. Montgomery fourth. Look at the top of your screen. Blindstone in the number 5 spot. A lot of good riders here. And they're from everywhere from Arizona to Kentucky, beating up here in Sykeston, Missouri.
Yeah, Loreno really hanging on there and really driving a good line. If you get in the proper line, you're fast and you stay in the line, it's very difficult to pass.
One thing you got to do for sure, though, is you always got to be watching for that opponent, and that is what will judge your line or help you judge your line as you're making your way through the course.
And you've seen this before too, Brian. When you follow somebody that closely, a lot of times they can actually have a problem in front of you and you get hamped up behind them.
Yeah, you get all hammed up right there. If a guy has a little problem, touches that brake, even slashed him out, or even just lifts on the throttle at the wrong time, you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, as you mentioned.
I mean, you want to follow that guy to stay in that preferred line, but if you can stick a nose underneath him like that, that's what you've got to try to do. Oh, and he might lose 2 spots.
Oh, he gets a bump right there. Your guy's been leading it. Laredo now runs second, and we got a new leader.
Solid job.
Oh, man, again it happens.
Boy, a tough break right there for Loreno, who was out front and now is falling back to third as he makes 2 small mistakes and finds himself barely on the podium at this point.
Man, that's a tough way to go. And you mentioned it earlier, and we talked about it, the fact you got to watch what that rider's doing behind. You got to ride your own line, but you also got to watch that competitor. If you watch the lead rider right here, you'll be turning that head around from time to time as we make our way into the final lap and look for the checkered flag.
Out front, Jason Fisher, followed by Mark Blindstone. And Blindstone right there, I mean, he's closed the gap, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time. Really, Fisher's going to have to make a mistake to lose this one.
And then Laredo's machine, that's a tough way to go for a guy who led the biggest share of the race.
But he didn't win that one and final lap. That's the most important one, and that one is going to go to the 79 of Jason Fisher out of Blacklick, Pennsylvania. Congratulations to him.
Mark Blystone will finish second, Laredo third, Montgomery fourth, and Keister your number 5 finisher.
Thanks for watching this episode of Lucas Oil on the Edge. For Ken Stout and Brian Olson, I'm Sarah Daly. Remember, you're not living unless you're on the edge.